Mm, so lovely to be with you all.
Mm.
I felt like as you were opening, it was like it was in real time a visioning process that was happening in real time, where the words and the actions and the tonality were all happening at once. It's just really, yeah, and just opening to that level of prayer that comes from that place that, you know, I mean, sometimes I just say, I know that my sincerity carries the prayers to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
And being in an environment where those prayers come from someone like yourself, any of you, yeah, Alda, June, I mean, I just feel that deep contentment, sensate experience just come over, really take over the field. The field itself can come in and, oh, now I can work with you. You're in that place of humility and and I love this. I've been reading this book from the Waitaha, Whispers of Waitaha. The grandmother's telling the story to a child, and the grandmother's telling the story about, and she's describing, or they're describing the tides of creation. And I love when I heard that, the tides of creation, understanding that spiralic flow is the masculine and feminine, is the yin, the yang. And it's really the flow of the waters, right? The flow of our living waters that allows for what we're really dreaming about. What our soul is dreaming. And so when I guess I feel like when those prayers, or what we called heart resonance, happen, there's this natural organic unification in the body. The cells all start dancing, and there's a sense of a deeper currency where those forces are moving, and we become one with the creation itself. That's what I was experiencing. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
I don't know if it makes sense, but
No, it did for me. It was helpful. Thank you.
And I just wanted to say that your prayer was such a deep invitation. There was something that was really calling for people to come in, and especially the young people. But I felt the young part of myself being called as well. So thank you. It was beautiful.
You're welcome, Angie.
and maybe that's something that in our coming together with others, that to really have a deeper experience and an understanding of prayer. Because like I know I get on the prayers for 22 women, and those prayers are very deep. They're beautiful. And there's always a part of me that feels like it doesn't really know how to pray. Like I don't pray that deep, or I don't, and I know I'm not the only one who have those feelings, or just to be really honest, and I've never really said this, but in those prayers, I know that the intention is to be open to spirit, to pick people to do the prayers. But I also notice how they're always certain same people. And I'm like, well, is that creator, or is that, what is that? But just to be around that frequency, because it is a frequency of love that's responding back to its to creation itself. And I think so, talking about or understanding prayer and allows for a person to, like what June was saying, was just open to the invitation of the prayer itself, it has a magnitude and magnificence that affords us a sense of deeper relationship with, call it the pulse of creation itself as it's evolving in real time.
Mm.
So I'm glad we're just having this little sharing. Great. So does anyone have anything else they want to share or anything moving for them?
Okay. Well, just from what you shared, oftentimes we shortchange ourselves on what it is we're able to do, that we willingly give to others to do on our behalf as well. And so in one sense, it's like, it's not the words, and you know that because as you spoke, it's a frequency. And sometimes in a sense, I think, forget what elder said it, but it's in the White Bison Daily Meditations. It's not the word itself. Of course, it's just the intention of what it is you're speaking that brings that force of prayer. And I don't know why we just call it prayer. I mean, it's just it's our channel to our Creator. And I don't know where the word prayer came from. Maybe that's something to kind of look into. But it's just our way of communicating. It reveals itself in what we've been learning and sharing about the relational language that we have with creation, that we have forgotten. Being able to talk to all creation and have the conversations of life, with every living thing that is non-human form. And Deoka Sun Ghosthorse speaks about that. And it's one of those things that I'm channeling and like zeroing in about. We knew this. It's not lost. We just have to resurrect or activate or whatever it is. It goes along with, we speak about things that are no longer spoken, that have been lost, like especially like the languages of people. But what the Spirit has spoken with me is that nothing's ever lost. It's as it's spoken, as it's sung, or as it's danced. It's in the universe. And what we have forgotten is that communication or the oneness with the universe, sometimes we have to do is from that sacred heart fire and mind together, is we just need to ask in a humble way to remember these ways, remember the language, remember the song. And I've been very blessed to have the experience of in when I've been in like a prayer run, even when I've been in training, and I get into that space where I lose the self and become like the one wind, or the dragonfly or whatever. And before I begin that, I make my prayer that help me to sing a song that has been not sung for a long time. And I end up singing, and it's beautiful. It does take some effort, but it's beautiful to disengage this, what we call intellect, that right off the bat wants to say, "What are you doing? You don't know that. What are you talking about? You don't even know what that means." uh, into this, like, you're dismissed. The heart's singing the song. And I asked for it. And so that's the conduit of the oneness, is that sacred fire where songs have always been sung to and around, like fire and the water. So yeah, it's I'm sharing it, and because you're sacred feminine, like, oh my gosh, I go by those prophecies of, it is woman who will be the main formidable force of healing the world. So it's like, don't sell yourself short sometimes, and we do acknowledge others, well, they're the ones that do this, or that's the one, and or has a shaman after his name, or she does, and it's like, and even Theo Son, he says, don't put us in the category of saying, that's the wisdom. He says, wisdom is just life. Don't break us up and say this is the wisdom of these people. It's life. I really love the way that he says, you put this in a little box. He says, but you can't put us in this little box, because he says, this is who we are. And his hands go all the way out. So it's like the infinite, at least that's how I receive it when he speaks. So,
Mm.
and I was inspired with with this sharing heart of we call prayer this morning, because all the just shared right before that there was another white buffalo calf that was born in Yosemite, and it's on YouTube, I guess. And so there was one born on the 25th of May and one born on the 30th of May between Kansas and Texas, and now another one being born. I'm telling them, like, this is a very powerful message. It's the congruence of repetition of white buffalo calves being born on a year-to-year basis. I don't remember, and I have actually researched over years the birthing of white buffalo calf woman in her form, and I've never come across the sequence like this so close together, aside from that 1 year where there were 4 born on Mother's Day some years ago.
Mm.
So I was real excited because Yosemite is close to, that's not the Yellowstone, or it's a different part of, or I bring that up because there's a group called BuffaloFieldCampaign.com, and there are a volunteer corps of people who protect, watch, and keep track of the original buffalo, the Tonka, that was here in 1491, before the Westerners came and set foot. They carry the DNA of the original, and they're all housed at Yellowstone, and they're kept at a population of about 2,000 by the Forest Service. And the way these people from this Buffalo Field Campaign speak, that all the rest of the buffalo that are on Turtle Island, they refer to as their beefalo, because they're bred for eating. So I got real excited, and I guess came out and being inspired with the prayer.
Awesome. Good morning, Grandmother. We can't see you,
And you're muted.
and you're muted.
Should we call you Samsung?
Yeah, she is.
Hello, Iya.
Maybe
And
she's.
thank you for the invitation.
I just want to share something. So it was born at Yosemite, right? This latest one?
Yeah.
Yosemite. Okay. So Yosemite's different than Yellowstone.
Mhm.
And what they're saying about this one that was caught by a woman who happened to just be driving, because they haven't seen it after she saw it yet so far, but is that the this is what I read. The prophecy is that the white buffalo has a black nose and black nose and black eyes or brown eyes. And the other buffalo have, I believe, have been pink noses and
Albinos.
albinos, which is very different. And there's a lot of trying to breed the white buffalo going on.
That's true.
But they're saying that this is, and this pack of bison, let's just say, are completely wild. So the fact that it happened out in nature, not at somebody's farm or, you know,
Match.
is something that to pay attention to. That's all, you know, that,
Yeah.
and apparently it does have a black nose and black eyes. So, and I was reading about Arvo Looking Horse and, you know, what he was sharing about that. So, and that prophecy. So interesting. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, I may have said, what did I say? It is at Yellowstone. I think I said Yosemite and
You
it's
said
Yellowstone.
Oh,
Oh,
it was
is
at
it?
Yellowstone.
I
Okay.
think so, yeah. I'm looking now to see, I'm trying to find the exact one, but the couple that I found are Yellowstones, so.
Well, if they're Yellowstone, then
Yeah, this is the one, it's Yellowstone.
it's a direct descendant
Right. That's,
of
and
the
that's what they were
ancestors
saying.
of this.
Right. That's what they were saying. And I think it's the first one that's been born out in the wild that has black nose and black eyes, which is amazing. So, yeah.
Well, the first one in a while. There have been others.
Oh,
Yeah, like Miracle in
Right.
1984.
Right.
You know, that was the first one in almost 100 years.
are we
And it
technically,
says-
let's see.
I
Yeah.
think I say, and one is born approximately about every 10 million.
Okay. I'm going to go back to Ia for a second.
Yeah, you're on mute. I'm
Oh, she just
listening
texted.
pretty loud where I am.
You did?
Okay. Yeah,
She just put a chat. She just put on a chat.
she's
Oh.
I think she's not, well,
it's pretty loud where
she
she's
said where she is, she's loud, so she's not at home.
or they're doing construction next door or something, maybe.
Oh, that's right too.
He has a headset we wouldn't hear. Okay. I have something I would like to bring forward to us.
Mhm.
And this is more of a musing, maybe amusing, but it's something's really stirring. And I wanted to share, you know, last week when we came on, I think June was the only, no, who was it that got on? No, it was Ia got on when I was on with Kised Tanamuk. He's a Wampanoag elder, but he lives in British Columbia, and he's the one who I connected with 2 years ago and but have reconnected with, and he's agreed to whatever I need for the movie. He wants to be there for it. We had this really beautiful sharing of which I babbled on for way too long. The gushing dam that gets broken. Fine. But I was speaking to him. There's a couple of things but the one important piece is I was speaking to him about reconciliation and conciliation. And I was speaking about it in terms of, so now, you know, we everyone has said in the past reconciliation, but now it's flipping over to conciliation. And I just kind of brought it up in the broader perspective of kind of what this movie is holding, is entailing. And I wanted to share with you what he said. I was going to just pull up the video, but I think in respect, I don't want to do that. But I wanted to share with you a couple of things he shared just to drop this into the bigger picture. And he spoke about prayer as well, which was really beautiful. As I got more comfortable with sitting with him. What he was saying was that he was saying that he actually feels that reconciliation is the word, which was very interesting to hear from him. And he said, it is the, and I'm not saying that it won't shift, because I don't know if he's seen Mark Charles's video, and maybe he hasn't prompted to go think any deeper. I don't know. But he said reconciliation is the word because it prompts us to pay attention to what we've done and what we have not done. And we need to reconcile that. As an example, he said, take my own people, the Wampanoag. So that's very, for you, Alda. I was thinking about you the whole time.
My ears are open.
I know. My own people, the Wampanoag, for instance, what was the promise in 1621 never got fulfilled. So we have 300 years of unfinished business. We haven't picked up from that moment. We've experienced war, and we're still at war in many aspects. And it's more than just surviving. We're beginning to realize that, as John Fire Lamedare said, every step on earth is a prayer. This is so beautiful that we're talking about this. It's a communication, a wondrous wonder that we're part of something far greater, yet our part in this far greatness is substantial. And then he started to talk about Rumi, but I want to jump to there was lots, but I wanted to go down to where he talked about forgiving the unforgiving, the unforgivable. I often think about where I'm at these days, and I think about the unforgiving. Those behaviors, the attitudes behind them, what fueled them, and so forth. It's not so much forgiving as holding ourselves accountable. So we say this is unforgivable, and what we do after that creates the changes. So for some time being, in my honor mischief, I say genocide cannot be forgiven. There is no way that you can get out of it. It's what you do from this point on. So I just kind of wanted to, oops, sorry, I lost you. I just kind of wanted to drop that into the field because I have high respect for him. And I thought, and I trust what's coming, and it wasn't coming as an attitude. It was coming as a heartfelt place, and I began to peg it a little bit, but I also knew that it wasn't the right timing. We were doing something else. So, and it made me really go deeper into, because I do have this deep sense of forgiving the unforgivable. That doesn't mean that we are not acknowledging the pain and the depth and the death of so many, right? So I just wanted to drop that into the field, and I am going one other place with this, but there's beautiful Ia. And I don't know if you guys want to respond or feel something from that, but I think it's like diving in that little bit deeper. Because believe, if he's holding that, then so many others. And is forgiving the unforgivable actually, is it that we are inviting to take another step of healing by forgiving the unforgivable? I personally believe so, but I'm just curious if there's anything.
I think it was a long time that I agreed with the idea, but I knew that I hadn't really taken it into my heart. And I, finally could. A lot of it was me understanding it was kind of a forgive, but don't forget, but I had to do that in order, like, to move forward. It allows me to put it down, like not forget what was done, but I can put it down and move forward. It's a weight that I don't have to carry with me moving forward.
Hmm. Well,
Well, I'm listening in. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Good morning. I'm in a restaurant and there is background noise, so I don't know if you can hear me.
We
but
can.
I
We
hear
can.
you guys. And that word, the whole idea of forgiving the unforgivable and all of that is a big discussion, and I think that there's many takes on it. Because we buy one person, my thing is, can we perceive it from different perspectives and not make it right or wrong? Because I might look at forgiving to me sometimes represents I make somebody wrong so I can be right. That's what forgiveness means to me a lot of times. But if I can learn the lessons of it, Johnny, and embody that lesson in terms of how I was inclusive of it. In order to have a slave, in order to have a slave master, you have to have someone who agrees to be the slave. So what do we learn from those lessons? How do we redetermine that and give different definitions in that separation? And that's what I feel that creation is asking us now. How do we come into the unified field of understanding all humanity as a whole, as opposed to a separate, and that all of us contribute to the misdeeds on this planet? And that may be hard for us to swallow. So then we have to go in, how did my ancestors contribute to that misdeed on this planet? And we may be doing the same, as long as we divide according to our own race, our own ethnicity, and don't see a whole, that we may be repeating some of the same thing. That's what I look at the world. Am I in a place that I can accept and receive the lessons that I learned, or my ancestors learned, and apply that to where I am today? That's the way I perceive it. When I'm thinking about forgiving, do I forgive or do I accept and learn the lesson and ask myself the bigger question?
I don't see that as an either or.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying what my perspective is. That's my perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not saying yours are right or wrong. I'm just saying I perceive the world this way.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with there's a perspective. Maybe, before we make our own personal decisions, one of the things I've learned is exploring and research to do as much as I can to have as much information that I possibly can get. And I'm still out there because it's data, right? To form an opinion or perspective of what it is you will make as a part of your truth. Stand in your own truth. And so this elder, I would agree with him that for him, reconciliation is the right word for him because he's the Wampanoag. They had that 50 years of whatever.
No, they didn't. That was
Oh,
not
they
the
didn't.
Wampanoag.
Okay.
It was another tribe.
Okay. So then I'll put it this way. My research has taken me a place where I came across Mark Charles, who explained what I feel to be very distinctly finite, the difference between reconciliation and conciliation. So you have this other elder from a different tribe saying it's reconciliation. We have a Dene elder, Mark Charles, who from his perspective and research says it's not, it's conciliation. And I would agree with his definition of the difference of the two. The forgiving of the unforgivable, I'll take that one step further, because it's not the word of forgiving the unforgivable. It's not the phrase. It's what has in the 500 years, what has demonstrated itself to be between the parties who came here versus the parties that already lived here, how does that, how is that translate into the unforgivable? Now, in my own personal perspective and my own life experience of 20 years of being in recovery, having seen the journey of forgiveness from Wildbriety on YouTube, if you haven't seen that, I would really strongly suggest that you add that to your collection of research as to whether or not we're speaking about forgiving the unforgivable, because that story in itself actually for me translates that what was done to the indigenous peoples of this continent is humanely unforgivable. And in order to really heal, there was a dream, a vision given to a Mohican elder who took it to his elders, who told him to build that hoop of 100 eagle feathers in ceremony and bring them all together from the 4 directions and make a prayer. And they put gifts into it. And one of the gifts was the power to heal the unforgivable, to forgive the unforgivable, the power. The other 3 gifts were unity, healing, and hope. But the power from the African elders, from the Asian elders who actually came from those countries, from the Sami people in the north, the white tribe, the reindeer keepers, and the tribes that showed up, you know, in that 4 days of ceremony with a hoop on a cedar bed. And for me, in my own translation of life, drugs and alcohol have been still another form of the genocide that's still going on this continent. And I see it. I'm around it because I do enter into the sacred places of the ancestors of the tribal nations from where it is that I have been traveling in my life. And I've seen the devastation of what that has done to the original people here, or people of the earth. So for me, that very clearly for me says that's unforgivable. What human can do to human. It's atrocious. It's an atrocity what we do to animals, you know. But to do the same thing to people, to one another, you know, is that an unforgivable? Yeah, absolutely. But how do we go beyond our humanness and find a spiritual place where we have to open our heart and to heal? And one of the things that I was given a while back was that there cannot be any real physical healing until spiritual healing occurs first. And people who do that kind of body work will tell you that any form of illness, ailment, or whatever has a spiritual nature to it. There's a spiritual reason why it is your body is going and physically manifesting illness, disease, or whatever that is. I've experienced that myself as well. So, you know, matter of perspective, I don't think there's, this is not a place where it's not the black and white of saying right and wrong. It's the living experience. And for me, the 500 years have demonstrated very clearly that although when the Sand Creek Massacre occurred and Congress finally said, we got to stop trying to really exterminate these people, you know, they found other ways to do it, and it's still happening. So we become better at our own genocide than the colonizer has.
Hello.
Anyways, oh.
That was a lot.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you for that. And yeah. I feel, I, can you hear me? Oh, do you want to say something?
No, what was you saying? Because I had to come and find me another place. And then when I heard Danny was talking, so I don't know, I said something. And then the next time I hear Danny, so I don't know where we are. So I'm listening.
Well, we're gonna just keep going because this is being recorded, so you'll be able to. I think what you shared sparked Daniel, correct, Daniel? And he shared his truth in amidst that beautiful. I mean, this is what we're doing, right? Like, I mean, to me, I don't know what's going on right now, but I'm just like, there's so much grief moving inside of me. Like, I don't even think it's my own. It doesn't make sense to just be my own. And I feel like everything that we've been working towards is like it's coming home. The voice, the feelings, the what we're sharing, what we're carrying as you know, 5 essential elders. And to me, I have to only look at forgiving the unforgivable back to myself. I have to bring it back to myself and how I hold that in my own heart, how I've held that, and how and what is it that sets me free. And the time and what sets me free is that when I bring it all the way home to my own heart, and I'm having the direct experience of forgiving the unforgivable, frees myself and another in the vast universal web of life. And that's tricky territory because we have such unruly rulers, let's just say. And but I'm just feeling a lot of energy because the soul of this movie or this book that I've been working on, this is the soul of it right here. This is I believe this is what shifts humanity. And not that we're saying it's unforgettable or still going on, but it has to begin, like everything that we've been working on, it has to begin somewhere, and it begins within us to find, because that I think that the unraveling of how we hold ourselves and another in that separation is the cause of humanity's grief in some way. And this is what well, I'll just leave it for now. So I'm just really, I mean, this to me is the unearthing of what we need to be able to have conversations on this level, having different perspectives and be able to listen and be changed by what tides of create. That's what we were talking about, Ia, before you got on, was the tides of creation. That the movement, the spiral, the cycle of spirals that moves within us and the universe is one source stream, so to speak, you know. And anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. I don't know how that sparked, because one of the things I go back to is an elder for me. When I was in Ghana and I saw what the elders wrote, he said, may we as a humanity never walk this way again. And so I'm with radical nationalist Blacks who have their own way of looking at the world of separation. But to have this elder point this out to me, like, may we as a humanity, may we as a humanity never walk this way again, points us into an ownership here that says that we all somehow was inclusively involved in this. So may we as a humanity not walk this way again, but it points us back to ourselves. What part of our own personal humanity has to evolve and grow or become conscious of that? And what you did, you pointed us back to And that's what I found to be my truth. When I can walk inside that body that holds that lack of reconciliation or that lack of forgiveness, even if I walk back into it and look at where's that forgiveness, if it's even with a family member, it affects the whole in terms of my capacity to be a yielding, forgiving being and accepting of others no matter where they are. That's the way it leads me. So I realized that, and I'm running, and it's similar to what you said, I'm hearing more. I heard some elders, the same thing. It is a real tough time because it's pointing, it feels to me that we are being pointed in the sun to look at what it is we need to transmute within ourselves, not so much in the outer world, but what part of that it lives with is alive within our own genetic bodies, our own DNA body, our own way of living and breathing. What part of that is still living in us, contributed to on different levels, how it affects us in illness and everything else. It forces me to look at what part is living inside of me. Because if I do that, I can clear the field and be that example of where we need to be as a humanity in my lifetime. If it's just for my family, it's going to affect the whole if I can walk back and look at that. And what I do is tend to take my people. Our life didn't begin with enslaved Africans, and we never was slaves. That's the other thing. We have to eradicate the fact that we never was slaves. Our African ancestors was enslaved people. They became enslaved by somebody else. So you have to walk back and look at life in a whole different way. What role did we play in it? It might have been the filtering and the breaking apart of our own personal relationship, tribal relationships, community, whatever led to that, allowed us to fall into that. We look at all of it and say, okay, here's what was going on in our country. And when I look back at Africans and look at Africans that was enslaved in Africa, you set up a premises for that to happen. So it's like looking at the whole in order for me to become the whole expression of humanity in my lifetime. Am I human enough? Am I great enough? Can I be big enough to stand in the mud and transmute that in my own personal life in a way that it leaves like a blank slate for my lineage or for my children? Not so much the big world out there, but how am I living in this family? Because if I got troubles in my family, that might be the place that I need to begin to work with transmuting some of the separation. So anyway, that's just my take on it. Because it still comes out of that trauma space, that place of hurt and separation. For me, as a being. So, and I keep saying for me because I don't want to speak for the whole.
And I don't know if you've seen Lila June speak as part of a panel where she speaks about what forgiving the unforgivable means to her, and using the story at Standing Rock when 1,000 people surrounded hand to hand surrounded the police building in one night and were praying. And she, through that story, but what she does, she demonstrates or she speaks of a truth within her that to forgive the unforgivable actually is it's a sign of strength. It strengthens you. And I get it. For myself, I get it. Because in surrendering, there is a power unlike any other. When you surrender to the unseen. There's a power that is put upon you of things that will continue to be a form of your walk. In the physical realm, Standing Rock represented an act of forgiving the unforgivable. Alda was there, but what I'd heard that it was all a prayer. The entire time it was a prayer. Well, they were doing all those things to people, rubber bullets, freezing water, all that stuff. They were praying for their enemy, their oppressor. And they were praying for their children and their children's children. And so that was a demonstration to the world. Because it wasn't until all the tribes came together on this continent, if I'm not mistaken, that then others from other continents, indigenous peoples, started showing up.
Yeah.
It was a huge message.
There are indigenous people from Europe that came.
Europe, South America, Mexico, and so that's, for me, that was a demonstration. It can be done. And it lies within every one of us, because we all carry the sacred seed of creation by the same creator, just by probably a different name. And of course, you can have a difference of opinion on that one, but that's my truth. So,
June, do you want to share? Let's check in.
No, I'm sitting here really caught between the idea of thinking about the unforgivable and feeling the unforgivable. And I find myself caught there a lot, back and forth, because in one space I can say yes, and in the other space I can say no, or this makes sense or this doesn't make sense. And it's a really, there's something about the unforgivable as being a teacher of intense value, as much as we don't want it and we want to forgive it. It somehow is a driving force in love. And I'm not sure I have the words to describe what it is that I'm really deeply sitting in right now about it, but it for me, my own question to myself of what can I forgive and what can't I forgive or won't forgive, has nothing to do with can't, tells me about my own inner worth, my own inner values, and so on and so forth. So I find this an extremely deep and important question. What is the unforgivable, and why is it there, and how is it guiding us to move forward? So I'm sitting here in my emotions about it right now rather than my head. So I really appreciate the discussion we're having. Thank you.
What made me believe it was possible, even when I couldn't do it, was seeing a parent forgive the murderer of their child.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, if they can do it, what can't be forgiven? I don't know how they find that place, but if they can do it. Yep.
I think sometimes just around that one, I think about forgiving someone who might kill one of my children, is that if I don't, I am continuing to kill my child. It's there's something absolutely necessary in my forgiving to bring about change and to bring about the blessing of that child who was killed.
Speaking, will you put yourself on mute because we can hear the restaurant? Thank you. But if you want to speak, take yourself off mute. You can, and because we don't hear it. Oh boy. Okay. I guess what it comes down to for me is like it comes back to the heart. Because from the a mindful perspective, I can't have that direct experience of what that experience is unless I open my heart and let my heart speak and let my heart teach me and find a a way. And the thing that I was feeling as I was listening was that when there is that moment of that I'm just going to call it forgiving the unforgivable, just because there's a sense of incredible freedom because you're seeing not humanity and the human being that does these things to each other. You're seeing and feeling, and yeah, it probably is inclusive of the surrendering, but there is a sense of, I would have to say, enlightenment. There's a sense of a sensibility of such a deep gratitude. And I can see the places where, things that have happened even to me, and I've been going through that process because I always bring it back, like what part of me is holding on to that other person and what they did to me. It was happening yesterday when I was working on the movie and came back to this whole thing of, and I think it's of use. And I think that's what you've been speaking to is, I call it I can't think of it right now. I'm going blank. Sorry, I can't think about it. But basically where, someone does something to you and you are, I'm sorry, I've got to hold on one second. I can't, I don't know why I'm just going blank. Tell you in 1 minute. Give me 1 second. It's important to kind of what I'm saying. Where is it? Okay. Oops. I don't know why I'm just completely going blank, but I just want to pull this out. Okay. Oh, a modern day exile. I wanted to pull that thought forward, where we have this experience of, someone exiling us and yet I'm the creator of that. And you can't necessarily say that to anybody. You have to say it to yourself and play with that and go deeper within yourself and unlock, because therein lies the shackles of how I'm held and how I hold how another can hold me there. So anyway, I'm really grateful for this conversation and may it continue. Does anyone else have anything else to share about this at this point?
I was just thinking about if we hold on to all of the stuff that happened in life, and even me as the where I'm standing, if I hold on to all the stuff I was able to witness in life, I would not be sitting on this platform having a conversation with Shelley or June, because I would be holding on to those things that separate us as a people with different shades of hues of color and skin color. I would be basing it on that. Because when I go back and re-examine my history and examine that a mother had to give up her breast to feed a white baby and couldn't feed her own baby, those are enough things to make me angry and hold on if I watch them in my life. and watch a mother who leaves her children to go take care of somebody else's children, but leaves her children in a compromising position. And I know that all of those things, but if I hold on to them and not allow them to become my wisdom guide or my lessons for today, I would not be doing humanity or the earth any good. So I know that I have to work within myself to look at where that fits into my core being as a human species, as a humanity. What did it teach me about my own person? Because I could have been that person. I could be that other person. I could, that person that's doing that act is another me, and I could be that characteristic, but have I evolved enough in my own consciousness and my way of seeing that I can raise above that and see it in another way? Because it's like once I stop looking at that, I'm a Native American, I'm a Japanese, I'm a Chinese, I'm all of these hues of creation itself. In what way do you teach me about my humanity? And maybe I had to live to come to this age and come to this place. And maybe that's what it was all about, is me to arrive to a place that I would have the language and awareness and consciousness to even to see it, to be able to share it and bring it up and have a different discussion. So I can't even blame my parents. I can't blame those who are not able to do that, because to me, it's all about that consciousness and that evolution of consciousness. So, you know, I have to, it's like, it's not easy work. To me, it's not easy to walk through this valley. To be able to go back and do that inner forgiveness, that inner transmutation on myself first before I take it to the world. You know, so anyway.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna shut off this record. Hold on one second.